Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our Plant of the Week podcast, brought to you by Bonide Products, family made in America. Visit Bonide.com to find a retailer near you. Each week, Plant Talk Radio's Fred Hauer focuses on a plant that would be a great addition to your landscape. Now for this week's Bonide Products Plant of the Week.
When I'm going to snow people for just a moment, I want them to pay attention. I want them to try to spell this. And if you fail, don't worry about it. We'll come to the reality. It is going to be Metasequoia glyptostroboides this morning.
Sure.
Well, that boils down to being a dawn redwood.
That doesn't sound like a plant. It sounds like a diagnosis.
Well, it can be if you have it too close to your foundation, because it's quite capable of hitting, well, at least 70 feet, if not more. It is a most interesting tree at, let's just say, 70 feet in height. Probably isn't going to be any more than 25, maybe 30 feet across. It's very conical. It's it's like an arrowhead sticking up in a way. I have seen them in backyards, such as a neighbor of mine. I have seen them used along streets because they're quite tolerant of soils and things. Mm-hmm. They'll handle reasonable amount of salt, etc. But their shape is very definitive. You can tell from half a mile away, if you're looking at a big one, what it probably is. And then when you get closer to it, it's a very light but solid green. It has, this nice pyramidal form and so on. Usually, almost always, unless it has been topped for some reason, it's a single trunk. It has a very feathery appearance because the little leaf, well, I'm going to call them leaflets, little stems as they are, have 50 to 60 leaflets on them. So they're just very much like a feather, but certainly too heavy for a bird. Their light bright green goes away with the first freeze. And I have some peculiar ideas of what color is, but I like to watch them. There are two houses away from me, and they are both the same in all senses, but then just like my children, they're taller and shorter and so on and so forth, all out of the same family. And those two trees will pick up two different colors of tan. One goes into a very light tan. The other one goes into more of a burnt red. They have just defoliated along with the oak, so they have held right on through the season. They're fairly early to come out in the spring. Makes a wonderful tree, but do keep it out in the background. And it doesn't, city lots are fine. I just wouldn't put it too close to the house. Very enjoyable. If you don't mind calling tan and burnt red colorful.
I think they are very, very pretty in the fall.
They are.
And I think they do well in hilly areas, don't they? Because they drain.
They really like a moist toward wet soil, but it has to drain. It's not like standing in a swamp. They really don't like that at all. But they'll handle the hillside. They'll handle flat ground. I've read about and even seen a few in what look like poorly drained areas, but they aren't particular about the quality of soil. Well, they prefer well-drained organic soil, but they'll handle our yellow and blue-black junk clay quite nicely. And as far as growth is concerned, the two that are just a couple houses from me are no more than 40 years old because of our neighborhood age. And they're at that 70 or so foot range. So they're going to grow a couple feet a year is what it boils down to.
Yeah, nice big tree and just beautiful.
Yep. And one of the things that can happen, and it's worrisome, but birds will pull the stringy bark off to use for their nests. Uh-huh. And sometimes it looks like they're right down to the heartwood, like it's been rubbed by a deer, but it isn't. It's just birds stealing the bark for their spring use. So if that bothers you, lay out some yarn or string for the birds to use instead of stripping your trees.
Well, another thing, too, you're always talking about a four-season lawn, so it looks nice in the winter because of that interest in the bark.
Well, and the shape is just as dramatic in the wintertime. It's a fine textured tree in terms of limbs. They don't get a size of a trunk of another tree. They're just simply a strong character, but in the sense that they'll get 70 or more feet tall. Stay a little bit away from your foundation.
Hardy?
Hardy. Yes. Now, bitter cold can kill twigs, little twigs from the previous season, usually not the whole tree. Now, that does happen up on the northeast coast of the United States on occasion, but they're quite capable of handling cold. But you'll find in the spring that as they're starting to grow, they're a little skimpy for a while until new buds break out and open up. There will be a lot of little, well, I'm going to call them matchstick debris types of things on the ground, but it is very uncommon for them to be killed. Maimed a little, as Mother Nature can do, but not beyond what they can recover from.
Thanks again for listening to our podcast, brought to you by Bonide Products at Bonide.com. Plant Talk Radio offers other podcasts as well, including our daily Your Gardening Question podcast and our weekly Plant Talk Radio, all available on iTunes or your preferred podcast player. If you have a plant suggestion for Fred, send him an email, fred@planttalkradio.com.